Episode: Power First Names and Rising Fusion. First name executives and their authority and power. You may recall my talking about first name executives previously. I am repeating them along with many things that I've learned over the years here. While working at Electronic Arts, EA, in Canada, growing our Fusion business unit and division, we were empowered in a novel experiment to be a startup within Electronic Arts. As a new business approach, the division would not be beholden to any group or studio or executives, except for Electronic Arts worldwide first name executives. Only the most senior executives were called by their power names because everyone knew them. And thus, you were referring to, even if you just intoned their mighty single name title, be it a last or first name, or sometimes their entire full name, always complete. Whatever it was, their power name heralded that they were from EA or Microsoft Olympus, as a monarch, if not a worldwide executive god. Invoking an EA worldwide or a Microsoft executive by their power name ended arguments, and it directed decisions. Power names were, well, powerful. They represented authority and total power. The same rule held true at Microsoft and Electronic Arts. Of course, Microsoft had 175 vice presidents when I worked there. So yeah, they were not power names within Microsoft, those 175 VPs. Only the biggest of bigwigs were power names at Microsoft. Some power names that are so noteworthy went global, even outside the company. First name examples: Bill, for Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft. Either Steve or just Ballmer was Steve Ballmer, the CEO of Microsoft. Or Phil, for Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox. And then later on, Satya, for Satya Nadella, the new CEO of Microsoft, who had succeeded Steve Ballmer. And then there were, like I said, last names that were just like first names. Matrick, for Don Matrick, the founder of Distinctive Software and EA Sports. And he was briefly the head of Microsoft Xbox. Or Shappert, for John Shappert, the founder of Electronic Arts Tiburon, the head of Electronic Arts Canada, and a CEO at different times for Electronic Arts and for Microsoft Xbox. There were a few hybrid names, but one jumps out from Atari Games: Dan Van, which was for Dan Van Alderen. He was the CEO of Atari Games. Rarely, like I said, there were the required two-name power names. Scott Krantz. He was the CTO for EA Worldwide. Paul Lee, the COO, Chief Operating Officer for EA Worldwide. And Warren Wall, for, well, Warren Wall. He was the founder of EA Fusion, one of the founders of EA Sports and Distinctive Software, and he was a member of EA Worldwide. So you get the idea. Whatever the power name, invoking it summoned power at your disposal, though it may also invoke fear and distrust. Nonetheless, power names were power. As an aside, I became a first name myself within EA Canada because of my success in growing EA Fusion. I was only a first name with the developers and teams that I worked with at Microsoft and those we contracted with. But that's typical. So my only true first name era was Electronic Arts Canada. Occasionally, some people called me simply Seaborn, out of homage to John Shappert's always referring to me as Mr. Seaborn at all possible opportunities for him. I was a key member of the four-person instantiation and formation team for Electronic Arts Fusion's business unit within EA Canada. From its early startup with an EA model to a fully independent 325-person employee division with several hundred more contracted developers. In total, at peak, Fusion was approximately 650 people. We shipped over 75 games in many languages across the world. We sold over 20 million copies of our games. We earned over $700 million in revenue. Fusion had a short run, though, of 6 years before being destroyed, scrapped, and pieced out by jealous, competitive internal studios, divisions, and business units. I learned a lot on the journey of growing such a small group Fusion to such a large group in EA Canada. In no particular order, I will recount some of my tales and moments and epiphanies from the founding, shaping, and growing, and the making of the business itself of Fusion, hiring and training its staff and its contracted partner groups to all be so highly successful. And so, here are some of my tidbits of insight and experiences at EA Fusion. Game development and publishing are similar to many businesses, especially other software businesses. More and more apps have a local program component and an online service component. Games are the same. They offer and deliver a local product as an app, a digital download, or perhaps even a physical medium like a CD or DVD disc. And they also have often online service components. Just like non-entertainment apps, they connect online. Since business is about making a product or delivering a service, or like we just discussed, delivering both a product and a service, to understand a business, it is important to break down the convolution of software and services into their smallest functional components. I have found it easiest to use a whiteboard to visualize in a mind map all the apps and services that may be involved in an offering, and how they talked to each other, and how data flowed and propagated and aggregated throughout the architected interfaces. It can help to have access to their APIs, to their documentation on perhaps middleware or other externally made or licensed libraries or software or tools, and how they are linked, imported, or otherwise integrated into the product or service or its build and pipelines. It is complicated, but simplifying complex systems is fundamental to comprehension, and thus to being able to affect meaningful change and bring personal, positive impact to the business and the team. As we progress through the next series of episodes, you will find they have a lot more focus on learning and insight, a little less on my narratives and memories, though I do hope many are there. I hope that I have made them interesting enough as you journey through the subsequent, hopefully informative episodes.